Well, I've got a packed schedule for you. There wasn't enough in one day out to fill a vlog, so I've got multiple trips. I've got Elmley, multiple trips to Crossness, Lesnes, Abbey, and a small bit at Hall Place. So let's not muck around, let's just get straight to it, okay? So first of all, let's get to Elmley. Went into Elmley, first thing I saw, group of swans flying, and one of them with a kind of bent neck. Now, could that be a berrick or a hooper? I couldn't see from the distance, but is that an injured swan? Anybody know? And then I got a couple of takeoff shots for the folks that love my photos. So yeah, I just fired off a load of shots and tried to get them with maybe wings in the same place or wings opposite each other. Just before I got up to the tree line, there was already a light morph buzzard doing the rounds. And while I was watching that, I looked over and I saw there were already short-eared owls, and this was like 11 a.m. So tried to film as best I could through the window. It's a little bit windy, but once I got into the car park area, I could see several owls on posts, and I felt the wind. I can always feel the wind on my whiskers, that it was low enough for me to put the tripod up and put the 4K crop mode on, because they were right in the distance. Sunny day today, so what you're seeing is a little bit heat hazy, and there's the slight little battering of wind, which I've slowed the footage down 50%. That always helps. Stops me using the image stabilizer in the editing program, which can mess with the quality overall, I find. So I find 60 frames a second slowed down to 30. So I just moved around the car park and worked on what I could. Some of them were sitting on posts with branches in front of their face. So, you know, moved a couple of inches to the left and inches to the right. And yeah, like I said, heat haze was messing with some of them. And there was some flybys, and I probably got off 10 decent shots. Haven't done any photos for ages because I've been on that short-eared owls, that is, because I've been sticking to film. So it's nice to get a little bank to use on Twitter of short-eared owls. So I've got loads of footage and photos now. I even tried to get these two in the one shot. There was one in the foreground and one in the background, and the only thing I could do was ramp up the aperture to 25 to get enough depth of field. But it was not only not doing it very well, but because of the f/25, that's never going to be that sharp. It just looks a bit sort of heat hazy and horrible. So anyway, just to see, I wanted to see if I could do it. And while I was moving around the car park, I could hear cheeping really close. And I was looking around and I could just see blue tits, and which were getting really close, chaffinch, sparrows, and they obviously want feeding. And I always carry a little emergency pack of nuts. So I was putting them on the posts and smashing them with my hand to break them up. And there was this pheasant in the field. The colour from its feathers in the sun, I had to get a photo of that. You know, they're everywhere and not many people take them. But I mean, if that was a rare bird, it would be stunning. You'd be taking pictures of it. When you get it in the right light. And I did what I could with the lapwing, but it's like taking it from the car when it's on the side of the road. You never can get quite a good enough shot. So I did what I could, and I was quite surprised to see a couple of skylark. They're always in the track, having either dust baths or picking up grit. And they gave themselves away when I was driving up the track, flew off to the right, and I took a couple of pictures, and they had the little crest up, almost like a crested lark from Faro, Portugal, when I go out that way to the Mediterranean. And then I saw a group of cars plotted up next to one of the gates, and they were looking over, and I was like, okay, what are they looking at? What are they looking at? And I thought maybe it's just a kestrel, because a lot of people are obsessed with these kestrels, but you see them all the time. But sure enough, I looked and I could see, even from the distance and the colour, it was not a kestrel, it was a merlin. So I got what rubbish footage I could handheld. I really had to sort of take as much as I could and then slow it down 60%. I could see the focus was pulsing in the heat haze. I fired off maybe 40 shots with about 2 that were just about usable, sharp enough. But my first, of course I got the previous Merlin footage, but this is slightly closer. The last one was like 50, 60 meters away. And they all got rounded off on the way out, where one of these short-eared owls was in the grass on the side of the road. Everyone was just plotted up. And I got some shots and some video, doing that thing where you try not to disrupt anyone else's photos. You know, the first person who was there gets the best position, and then you get what you can. And then okay, everyone's here, move on. So I went for a drive to the front of the track. Nothing much happening, came back. Everyone had started to disperse because it was about 3:45 now. And this was my chance. It was still there. So I got as close as I could on the side of the track it was, and managed to, I mean, I've cropped in a bit, but you can see this has retained most of the detail with this big crop. And that's the closest I've ever got. stunning photo. So all the, you can even, if I zoom in, you can see my cab reflection in its pupil. Now we move on to my first visit to Crossness after Elmley, and we've definitely got a resident pair of buzzards. I saw them today, but when I first came here, they were in the tree. They're quite spooked by people, but this is the most I've ever seen. Literally every time I come here, they're always there. I've filmed them in the tree, but I tried to get closer, get the camera on the tripod for the 4K crop mode, but wasn't happening. Went into the hide and haven't seen them for a while. Big flock of linnets in the tree, quite distant, but there's a couple of goldfinch dotted in there. I was looking around for a hopeful brambling. It's not going to happen. I should stop getting my hopes up. Just a single little grebe working its way across the Great Breach Lagoon. I always have to slow down when I say that because I end up saying the Great Breach Lagoon. So messed that up. But yeah, it was hurrying across the water. It was taking advantage of black-tailed godwits. They all took off in a flock on the Thames. So managed to film a little bit of that. That's going to look nice, slowed down. They're in great numbers out on the water. Bit of a shame they're in their winter plumage. That summer browny orange plumage is incredible, but anyway, it's still a great watch when they fly. Getting some pictures and in-flight shots. Just yeah, I mean, it was great weather, so I was just taking advantage of the water being in and shooting off. Got some shell duck with the wings, 2 shell duck wings opposite each other, and then shovelers coming into land, trying to catch that moment when they kind of water ski. A pair flying by. Yeah, just I'm loving being back into photography again. I have missed it. It's just something different about it compared to video. And now I just saw the teal sleeping. It's one of those things where you go to walk past it and you think, no, take a shot. That's a good photo. The reflection of this teal with its beak tucked in and just sleeping, and the reflection in the water. Why not? And then just around the day off, I noticed the peregrine falcon flying amongst some gulls, and then I realised the gulls were chasing the peregrine falcon. And I don't know what it was doing. I mean, it could have flown out the way, but it was kind of just going in and out and letting the gull chase it. Maybe it was just getting some target practice or some evasion practice from other things that attack it. I don't know. But yeah, so a gull chasing the fastest bird in the world. And then a brief visit to Hall Place. It was a rainy day, so I thought I'm not staying in again. It had been like 2 days in a row. So I thought if I go down to Hall Place, I can just sit in the hide. And if I get anything, it's a bonus. And little robins were coming by and feeding, and they would pose on the bushes and the hedgerows, and just snapped off a couple of photos because I haven't taken any for a while of robins. And while I was stepping outside of the hide in one of the dry periods, I looked up and saw a little green dot and realised it was a parakeet sticking out of the woodpecker, the old green woodpecker nest, which is annoying, but it did make a good picture. So I put it online, and a lot of people agreed it did make a good picture, even though they are an invasive pest. Now, Lesnes Abbey. Now, we seem to have a resident couple of stock dove. I keep seeing them there all the time. They're always on this tree. First it was 1, and now I've seen 2. So I'm going to be making a little video of loads of bird calls, and I need that bird calling. It is distinguishable from the other birds. Did I get that word right? I think so. But I filmed it, and I took some pictures. And it's like there's a pair in my other woods, Martin's Grove. So even though they're the rare birds, I do kind of spot them now everywhere I go. And whenever a dunnock jumps out, I'll always film it for a bit. When the weather is quite overcast, there are no extremes of light and dark, so it makes for good video. And this looked particularly fresh and sharp. And then to my surprise, I thought that's quite a light bird. I could only just see it through the branches. I had to manually focus. First male blackcap for quite a while in this country. So yeah, I've worked on it for ages trying to find an angle because it wasn't that jumpy. So I thought when I go around this way, go around that way. But I couldn't get anywhere near it, but good to see. And then I just noticed a little wren jumping around in the scrub, and I thought, okay, a little bit of manual focus practice. I am getting better now. I remember now, like if I turn the focus wheel, like I did the video, focus wheel to the right, that means it's the birds coming towards me, and I turn it to the left, it's away. And I'm getting better. I'm getting more accurate focus on the birds manually. And back to Crossness. Yeah, this male kestrel, one of the resident ones, gave me some really good footage up on the tree when I arrived. The wind was really low. It's been good recently, the wind. I've been able to do a lot of 4K crop mode shooting, and it landed enough of a distance, not enough for a photo, but to put the tripod up, and got some decent time of it for, moving around on the branch. It was being blown around, but my camera was quite steady. So yeah, I mean, that's looking pretty crisp, that footage. I went out to the horse field, and a couple of buzzards doing the circuits, the resident buzzards again. Yeah, one day maybe they'll get chiller and, sit still for a photo. But at the moment I have to sort of approach using what coverage there is, what trees there are, and hope if they go into the back trees, then I can use the forward ones where the fence is to get a bit closer. But it's just so good. I've never been able to get close to them. And then we had some epicness. What a great day. So I came into the hide area, in the protected area, and I saw a raptor that I assumed was a kestrel flying amongst the gulls on the sewage area. It was through the barrier, and it landed on a post. And I only had sort of gaps in the barrier to sort of get to see it. So I manually focused and filmed it. I thought, oh, at least I've got it. And I tried to sort of creep close and it was gone. And I was like, walked off in a huff, went into the hide, sat down. I thought, okay, it's a bit grey, a bit grizzly. I'll just sit here and chill and, wait for the rain to pass. And then I just saw this light greyish bird fly underneath the hide and land in the tree to the right of it. Boom, smack in the middle of it. And I was just, oh, thank you. I mean, it had a couple of branches going across his body, but no problem. Actually, I think it added to it. So obviously, first thing I did was get enough footage that I was happy with. And then flick to photos for my photo fans. So yeah, just always making sure to do that. Fired off loads and loads. Got one looking left, one looking right, one looking straight down. And I thought, okay, tripod time. So I sort of used one of the posts to mask myself and sort of leant back, grabbed my tripod, started putting it together. Still there. Sort of put it up, don't bang against anything, Getting the top up, camera on, and it flew off. Not to worry, that's pretty epic. It did really well on Facebook and on Twitter. So, but I think that's the best I've ever got of a sparrowhawk. And yeah, the male has probably got better colours, but the female was looking particularly good today. So what an epic way to end the day. I did not see that coming. One of those days where you go out thinking, there's not much really happening, is there? And it's just that one thing. And another trip to Lesnes, hoping for pied, flycatcher, siskin or redpoll. Not today, but pretty good. I got a male blackcap come down for a bath. And yeah, so I still had to use manual focus to get to it. These birds are very clever. There's a section of the pool where it's open and another section where it's behind branches, and all the birds know to feed under there. Very smart. Yeah, because sparrowhawks, in it. But yeah, so I filmed him for a while, and it was followed up by a song thrush. I was like trying to figure out if it was the missile thrush or the song thrush, but I could see, I think the song thrush has that sort of lighter belly and then it gets more kind of mustardy from the top. So I think we can agree that's the song thrush that does that. And then next up, a robin came down for a little bath. I mean, there are other things, but I filmed those three. That's quite a nice little triple. And just after that had finished, I thought the song thrush was back, and it wasn't. It was a redwing jumping around in the back, picking up leaves and turning over things, looking for bugs. So the redwings, every time I've been there, they've been hopping about, and I can hear them making that little shrill call they make, like a blackbird, like other thrushes. So a really good list of birds growing here. Noticed a couple of foxes that were sleeping. You could just see the orange through these branches and bushes. So they obviously come here for the peace. Nobody's getting in there. And they weren't sleeping together. One was much further down the sort of slope. But yeah, they were cleaning their paws before they had a sleep. The two stock dove again, always on that tree. I never see them feeding. They're always sat in that tree. So I don't know when they feed. Maybe I'll get them one day on the ground. And I heard the chaffinch call, and it was a male chaffinch. And it came down low enough that you know, usually when it's in the tree, you get the blown out highlights. So it came down low enough that the background is a nice color. So nice couple of photos of that. Similar for a robin, I'll always take a robin shot when they jump down. Everybody loves a robin on Twitter, so I get as many as I can. So I can upload every couple of hours. You can't go wrong every day with a robin. So to finish off the day, got a female black cap. Excellent. Came down for a wash. Wasn't too bad. The eye wasn't behind a branch or anything. So I filmed for like 2 minutes, I think, just trying to see if she'd do anything different, if she'd come out, if she'd had a dry or something like that. But she had a bath, hopped out. I kept my camera pointed in that direction, and she'd come back, only because I've kind of learned to do this, that if a bird flies away, don't suddenly jerk away and follow it, because sometimes it does come back to the same position. So we're becoming a better photographer. You just learn this behavior. You know, no, don't. It might do this and it might do that. You just get better at that. Comes with time and experience. And the final trip to Crossness, which is today, and came into the field, and buzzard was cruising across the field and followed it and followed it and followed it and landed on a tree. As you can see, the lighting isn't great, but I always mess up the landing. I always overshoot the landing when a bird comes in. So you can see, I think I nailed that one, don't you? You tell me. It just came in and I knew when, here it comes. I can see it lifts up a bit just before it sticks its talons out for the branch. Very nice. And then the other one appeared, and I thought, let's try and get them in the same shot, but it didn't happen. Per usual, they circle and they start making their way over to the southern marsh on the other side of the dual carriageway. And as I was crossing the field, a bird with some light stripes on the tail jumped out, landed on the fence, and I knew straight away it had to be a reed bunting. You just get used to what birds are there. And luckily it landed on the fence, and I just filmed it for a while. I looked around because there has been 3 female and a male, but I didn't see any sign of the others. But yeah, she sat still for a while, which is great. Came in the gate, and there was a little flock of long-tailed tits jumping around in the tree. I thought, I haven't seen those for a while here. It's usually in the bigger trees. So a bit of manual focus, you know, I'll be slowing that down, jumping around. They're pretty good. No blown out highlights in that. I'm happy with that. Good to see. As I walked on past that, got to the end, and I heard an unusual call. I mean, I kind of know it, but I'm not familiar with it down here. And it was a single bird flying across, and they always check. So a single bird is always suspicious, like, what's that doing on its own? Because all the linnets and goldfinch and, well, the reed bunting was on its own, but is usually in a flock. But I checked this single bird, watched where it landed in the tree. If you see a single bird, see where it lands, because you might be able to ID it. And sure enough, I did. And it happened to be a meadow pipit. Excellent. I was a bit distant, so I filmed in the 4K, the standard mode first, and I thought, okay, it's going to be jumping all over the place, but let's flick to the 4K crop just to get a better view of it. I adjusted the exposure. Unusual for Crossness. So I thought, turned around, and I could hear lots of chirping, and it obviously pied wagtails in the horse field, and one of the pied wagtails landed on the fence, and as I was focusing my lens, something landed behind it, which I thought, that's got to be a meadow pipit as well, surely. That's where they feed. And it flew away and landed in the field. So, okay, so I made my way over to the fence and looked over. There was loads of barbed wire, so I was trying not to tear my coat. And then I could see the head popping up. Now, bingo. So it doesn't look too jumpy. So I set myself up to film it from a distance, and then I took a few steps closer. The pied wagtails were even playing ball as well. They're moving around in all the sort of where the horse hoofs have churned up the mud. So it was moving in around that, and I kind of, every time it stuck its head away, I tried to sneak a bit closer. And I thought, okay, this is probably close enough for photos. So I think I got 5 or 6 decent ones. There'll be a bit of a crop, but I'll be able to clean them up pretty well. So yeah, wow, I'm sure that's 2 meadow pipit. I haven't seen one of those here in ages. Not at least ones I could photograph anyway. And then while I was filming it, I could hear a sound. I thought, is that the gold? No, that's linnet, isn't it? And I looked over and I thought, are they on the teasels or something? And no, they were on the tree. And I thought, wow, that's close. Usually they're really jumpy. So I thought, typical. I'm trying to film this. What do I do? So I filmed the linnets because they were so close. I could get 2 in the same frame right next to each other, close. I didn't have to zoom back. And there were a couple in the tree moving around. So I filmed the different ones, looking over, keeping an eye on the meadow pipit, moving back and forth between the meadow pipit and the linnet. They eventually flew off, and then I saw a bird land up on a part of the fence, and I thought, that's a bit sort of small and dumpy for the meadow pipit, and it was the female stone chat, but she's always around that area. So yeah, female stone chat, and I thought, what else is going to show it? I thought maybe that might be a red star. I was like really panicking about it. So wow! And then as I was coming up the path, I went into the hide, and there was one snipe, along with a couple of coots and moorhen, but obviously, whatever. The snipe was just sleeping off on the island, so I didn't see any sign of the others. And I keep looking at the tree. I saw the sparrowhawk in the other day, going, oh, what are the chances? Nope, forget it. So came out and was walking up the water. I forget what that name is. I'll put it along the bottom of the screen when I remember. I'll look at the map, and there was a tufted duck. It caught my eye because of that white bit on the side. And I looked over and, would it let me photograph it? And it was super, super chill, him and his missus. So I got off, I just fired loads and loads of photos to see how they would come out. That tufty bit's really cool. And even Mrs. Tufty did the same thing, and I filmed, and it got really zoomed in really close. And then, once I got my fill, I kind of like stepped back and thought, okay, see, look, I'm trying to tell you guys I'm in no threat. So when I come back, let me do that again. So I slightly underexposed to make sure the whites weren't blown out, because I can save a bit of the shadows, the darker bits, later in post-production. So hope it's looking good as you're watching it now. Right, now, unless something unusual happens, it's, what time is it? It's 10 to 4, so we've got about 25 minutes. 10 to 4, it's 10 to 5. So we've got about 25 minutes before the sun properly goes. But if anything else shows up, then obviously I'll add to it. Little things flying around there. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, it was just, I went through it really, really quickly, trying to get it done. Not enough for one blog, so I needed to get rid of everything and put it all into one place and be done with it, because it's filling up all these different files in my computer, all these random bits of bird footage. Okay, hope you enjoyed, folks.